Hi, I'm Zhiyu, representing Entertainment Intelligence Lab at Georgia Institute of Technology. Today, I would like to present Creative WAN, a system to study effects of communications in co-creative settings. The rest of the presentation will be focused on 4 questions. Why study mixed-initiative co-creativity? What is Creative WAN? How do we use Creative WAN for research? And what's up next? Let's jump into the first one. Creative AI can already create human-like artifacts. As you can already see on the right-hand side, this is one of the images generated by DALL-E, a recent image generation model on that exact sentence. They can generate scenes conditioned on control codes, prompts, structured inputs, and even generate scenes that are not in the same model, for example, text-to-image. But the question is, are they good controls for human? We would argue that if these systems are imposing paradigms that only enforce underlying algorithms instead of actually being human-centered, they may impose cognitive load, they may cause people to feel frustrated and cause people to leave the system, which is bad. One of the solutions is mixed initiative co-creativity. We can introduce this to generate systems so that AI and designers can work together by communicating with each other. We've just talked about AI and human interacting with each other, but there are actually a wide variety of different ways that can be done, all the way from the designer showing intent to AI reflecting on overall structures and providing suggestions. Now the question is, which interaction should we use, and how and when should human and AI use these interactions? And this is the exact question that we want to study, and Creative WAN is here to help. If there's one thing that I would like you to take back home, it's that Creative WAN is a framework to study mixed initiative co-creativity system with a focus on communications and with modular design and API that helps connect all different kinds of creative domains and provides protocols and metrics for researchers to study different assemble of these systems. Now let's jump into what is Creative WAN. Creative WAN is a customizable framework for investigating co-creative mixed initiative systems. This system focuses on 2 design concepts. For researchers, we provide plug-and-play injection of modules so that they can easily develop MICC systems. And for users, we provide a unified communication-based MICC interface for the underlying generators. Let's look at how we provide help for researchers. In Creative WAN, we define a set of modules and their interactions. For example, the creative context abstracts generation systems and how to control them regardless of what they generate. And experience managers maintain the current interactive state and keep the session going. And the front end presents this information. And finally, the communication abstraction determines what happens on each kind of interaction. Let's look at how this framework would provide interfaces for building communications. We identify communication as strategies for exchange information, which represents the agency of both parties and their capability to take initiative, and finally, the ability for them to communicate. As we already foreshadowed, we can identify a lot of communications with these criteria. But to answer the question, what and how should they contribute to the MICC system, we need to find an ontology to systematically study them. Some dimensions we identify in our ontology includes human and agent initiated, which deal with which of the 2 parties initiate the communication, elaboration versus reflection, which relates to whether the communication is about previous contents or newly planned things, and finally, global versus local, which deal with the scope of the communication. Do you notice that they are meant to be continuous, and we may find other dimensions as needed? Let's take a look at an example. Let's say that we're looking into a mixed initiative co-creativity system that collaborates with a human designer to co-create a story. As you can see, here we demonstrate that we can pick one side for each dimension that we identified in our ontology and design a communication that fits into that slot, all the way from the human writing a sentence to the agent point out whether the story is a cliché. As we have knowledge about how to identify these communications, we're ready to look into how would a designer work with a system with or without communications from subspace of ontology, and CreativeWand is here to help. For the rest of the presentation, let's look at the case study for these two communications while we focus on human initiative and elaboration-based communications. Let's jump into how do we use CreativeWand for research. For the case study, we have implemented every single module in the CreativeWand framework, as what you can see. Now let's look at the specific conditions that we use in this case study. Specifically, let's see how user will interact with the system under global or local conditions. The first condition we look into is local condition, which features substitute the sentence communication. Let's say that our user wants to write a certain sentence. For this specific condition, we provide a communication where the user can change a certain sentence and the co-creative agent will continue the story based on that new sentence being substituted. On the other hand, the second condition we look into is the global condition, which is about applying topic control. Let's say that the user wants a part of the story to focus on a certain topic. For example, here, business. The agent will listen to the human on which topic it wants and which part of the story it wants this topic to be applied to, and use this information to regenerate the story. The end result is a globally changed story embedded with the new control. Let's talk about the recommended way to experiment with CreativeWand. We recommend that the primary use case of CreativeWand to be that we keep all the other modules the same and only change what communications are used in a setting. For the example study, participants are asked to create an artifact meeting certain goals. In that sense, creating a story that starts from talking about business, ends in something related to sports, and mentioning soccer. We ask the participant to use the system and we collect feedback in the process. Finally, we measure the global completion, level of satisfaction, and frustration. We recruited 60 participants on Prolific with different levels of expertise in computing, AI, and game development. Besides in-the-loop feedback, they additionally answer a survey on how they finished the task and whether they are satisfied or frustrated. Once the participant finished the study and answered all the survey questions, we looked into session traces that was collected in the process. They provided useful insights into whether a participant reported whether they finished a certain subgoal and when, if they do. And with this information, we saw that global condition allowed more subgoals to be completed and have this completion happening earlier in the session. To summarize, we've seen CreativeWand in action on research on the design space of co-creative agent communication with users. We've also learned that a limited form of global communication in our ontology can be beneficial for users to achieve certain subgoals. We want to point out that this comparison is artificial, as we do observe that participants in one condition want communications from the other condition too. Finally, let's look into what's up next. As we also asked similar questions on the survey, specifically on Likert scale in exit survey, whether they feel satisfied or frustrated, and did they complete a certain subgoal. We observed substantial underreporting both on the positive side and negative side. We started to wonder how can we actually improve on this. Digging into the system, we realized that feedback communications are voluntary, meaning that it's optional for the participant to report whether they complete a subgoal. However, if we make it mandatory by asking them every single turn, then we risk this being annoying. the next step is to see what is the best way to collect this information. Furthermore, there can be different sources of frustration. It can be from specific communications, it can be into the generation system on its capability of generating things, in this case study story, and can also be about the user interface. We want to look into how we can separate these different parts of frustration from each other. Aside from that, we are planning to look into better ablation protocols, and we want to also test creative event in other domains and different set of communications. Finally, the ultimate goal is to have an intelligent experience manager, which is an agent that truly initiates communications. And of course, a lot of other things. We hope that by starting creative event, we would encourage further systematic research into mixed-initiated co-creativity systems on a different range of domains and different communications, so that eventually we will see computational creativity experience to be boosted to the next level. Before we close, do notice that this is an evolving system and we're using it for upcoming research, so expect updates in our code repo. And feel free to talk to us if you're interested or have any questions to us. To summarize, Creative Event is a flexible framework designed for developing mixed-initiative co-creativity research prototypes, which revolves around an ontology of communications, and we've demonstrated on storytelling tasks with recommended protocol and a study and learned useful knowledge. More details in our paper if you are interested. Thank you so much for your attention. I would also like to thank every colleague that worked with me at Entertainment Intelligence Lab, and my advisor, Mark Riedl. Thank you.